Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the second day of June 2020. Well, I don't even know what's happening anymore. So I was looking through the esoteric influences for today, and for just some kind of explanation for shooting people who are peacefully protesting just for a photo op, and why there's military now being why the military has been activated against the citizenry. Yeah, this is well, anyway. let's go. I mean, I was saying we had 6 in retrograde. We actually have 5. Juno dropped off, actually. So it's Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, and Pallas. So I need to take Jupiter here off, or Juno off my list here. Juno was in Libra. So it kind of set the tone for partnership issues and all of that. But Pluto's in Capricorn, so in retrograde, we could allow some inner transformation to happen here and look forward to rebuilding relationships with others, I suppose. Saturn, restructuring the foundations of our lives, intimacy, group involvement, all of that. With Jupiter, interchange, reevaluation. It's in Capricorn, I believe, still. And so you're talking about relationships with others. And I think you're starting to see, well, it's not that you're starting to see, the support was always there, but it's now we're so sick of what we've been seeing that everyone's taking to the streets now. And I mean, obviously that should have happened far sooner, but it's happening now. So we'll take it. I mean, we have to, don't we? We have to start somewhere. And so what we have to do, though, is pay very close attention to what's happening behind the scenes to undermine the collective voice that's being expressed right now. We're basically restructuring our collective perception and our relationships with others. And today is the 2 energy. We're going to want to understand the cause and effect nature of what's happening. Again, what's happening behind the scenes to promote this, to promote some of the damage that's happening, because it doesn't appear to be from the actual protesters. It appears to be from outside agitative influences, and not the ones that the federal government is saying. It's actually others, and they know it. But we need to apply balanced reason to the current situation at hand. We need to be very, very careful not to allow our own actions to escalate something that, if something's going to escalate, let it be obvious who's doing it and don't participate in it, because too much is at stake right now. We have a foothold on this. Too much is at stake to ruin it or to set it back in any way now. So, excuse me. When I drew the rune Othala for today, it's the 24th rune of the Elder Futhark. Now, you're talking about, its meaning is earth. It's an earth element rune. It's a sacred space, ancestral heritage, the Akash, protection, tradition, loyalty, security, inheritance. But you can think of it, if you're not just thinking about it personally, you can think about it in terms of the collective. Now, the collective consciousness, or you could think about it, that's one way, but the collective of who we are here together. And so right now, security and peace are on our minds as we contend with not just the killing of George Floyd, but the virus. Remember, we're in a pandemic. Yeah, we're taking to the streets in spite of it, because this is so important. You see, our security and peace are so important, and who we are to one another is so important that we're willing to risk everything right now in this moment. Yeah. Who we are as individuals and who we are as a collective of souls inhabiting this country. It's become the real issue if we don't address it, And the fact that a president is willing to turn the military on the people. For something that shouldn't be happening. We shouldn't have to take to the streets. George Floyd should be alive. Breonna should be alive. The people that have been killed of late should be alive. There's another one, another gentleman that was killed. A little sidewalk restaurateur who I believe fed the cops, is what I read. I don't know. We'll have to see a little more about that. What's going on? Why are people being killed? Why are journalists being shot? What's going on, you see? The moon's in Libra until Scorpio here in a little while, 9:06, probably while we're doing this. So I basically just focused on what the moon in Scorpio's like. You know, it's volatile. So understand that emotions can rise very easily. You can be suspicious. You can be intense and focused and just a really great, it's not that Scorpios are bad people. It's just that they sometimes can get really intense and maybe jump to conclusions that aren't right. So we have to be, again, very careful to employ balanced reasoning today. Use that 2 energy to sort of balance that Scorpio energy today, because it's going to be here for a couple of days. So just know that moon stays in a sign for roughly 2 days, so give or take. So take a step back if diplomacy or tact are limited today. Now, the human design stuff, I'm going to go over that really quickly, and then we're going to get going on the reading. This is what I include the stuff from the human design charts for the week. It's a blend between astrology and the I Ching. It's fascinating. I don't know. I just think it's incredible. But anyway, the channel of rhythm is active today. It's keeping us together in the flow toward truth and profound change. I'm just going to read through some of this. The channel of perfected form is also active. Remember, these are things that combine. If you go over to Stepping Aside at imsteppingaside.com and look at the esoteric influences for the week, you'll get to it on the homepage. You just click on it and it opens it up. Well, you'll see that the chart looks different than a regular astrology chart. You're going to see a body in the background, and then you're going to see all these energy centers. They're little triangles. When you hook a couple of them together, you got 2 I Ching hexagrams combining together into what's called a channel, an energetic channel. And you've got the effect of both, and whatever line number you're at, whatever that turns out to be, you've got the effect of both of that influencing energetically within, in other words, you have a greater effect, a more combined effect, or interactive effect, if you will. So we have the channel of rhythm, the channel of awareness, the channel of perfected form, also suggesting that our focus is on survival, not only from the virus, but simply from daily life, apparently, especially what's going on right now. We're asked to continually look past what is happening to African Americans in our country as if there's no answers possible. And that's reflected in the moon's placement at gate 57.6, line 6. And that's ridiculous. Instead, we must remain steadfast in our demand for respect and dignity. And that's the earth, reflecting perseverance at its placement. Although restraint's going to be required going forward, obviously, this is Mercury's placement. The benefit of that will be apparent in our hunger for progress as we fight for a more harmonious existence together. And that's reflecting both Venus and Mars placement. There's a momentum that's happening right now toward change that is so profound in this 22-year, this cosmic builder year, that, I guess we're going to do it all at once, aren't we? So we're going to upend everything and make them hear us now. I guess Vice President Biden came out this morning and did a speech. I haven't heard it. I just saw some comments on Twitter about it before I started, and it looks pretty positive. People seem pretty happy about it. So we'll see what effect it has, if it has a calming effect, if it has any effect at all. Right now, sometimes, when things have got their own, it's like when a fire gets creates its own wind. Well, that's what we're doing. We're creating our own wind now. So I don't think that this is going to go anywhere anytime soon. That's just my feeling. So far, the esoteric influences, whichever ones you're looking at, seem to offer such insight into how we navigate it. So just pay attention to, the synchronicities that are happening. Pay attention to your intuition. Know that there are all kinds of things going on behind the scenes right now that should not be, that are trying to thwart all of this from being successful. So just hang in there and stay safe, stay protected, and we'll see what we can do on the other side of this when the dust settles and people are listening to and solutions are trying to be found. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I think I need some tea. Let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards and see what we have for today. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you so much for coming by. We do a little bit of this stuff first, a little housekeeping, just to kind of set the tone. And then oftentimes we'll refer back to it because, and the one thing I didn't say, we have some interesting aspects with Mars today that are affecting things. That are maybe just providing some tension. Sun square Mars, difficult interactions could happen, and diplomacy intact. And we already know from the stuff we already talked about that that's sort of at a minimum. Well, that's why. Venus square Mars, also passions are high, judgment can be affected. That's the one thing I wanted to say. So the sun is that's a self-influence. That's a very strong influence. And whenever you talk about your sun sign and all of that, your rising sign is actually the soul's is more soul oriented. So it's really best in esoteric astrology to focus on that. But right now, we're really, so you want to look at the ascendant and where that is. But basically, we're looking at the sun in Gemini, and so it's interactive. Okay, and we're talking about that side of self and the strength of that. And when it's in square with Mars, it just means that there's going to be some tension there. And it can be tension that then opens up a door to something else. So don't think that tension is necessarily, conflict and bad things, although it can be. It doesn't have to be. But we've got Mars in Pisces, so maybe a little victim-like behavior or manipulative energy going on. But again, judgment could be affected with Venus square Mars. So I think that was all that was there that I wanted to mention. Yeah. But anyway, we do a little bit of that in the morning, and then we start on the reading. So I'm going to take the first 3 cards. I'll take the 13th one each time for randomness sake. And if we need more, we'll take them. And if not, we'll go on to the rune for today that we'll draw. Not the same as from the esoteric influences over on the blog. But anyway, we'll do that. And then we'll close out with a geomancy rune, just sort of tie it all together. So. I'm going to get my hands woken up this morning. Well, we have temperance, moderation. Well, moderation on all sides here, but not to the point where we stop talking about this, okay? This is the 14th card of the major arcana. So we're talking change, but we're talking blending fire with water, so will with emotions. We're talking about balancing that. So you see where I'm going with that. So we have to be smart right now. We have to be smart. We have to be smarter than them. Okay? That's what it's saying. Got to be smarter than them. And keep this momentum going in a way that respects the life and the dignity of George Floyd and everyone else that has died at the hands of police violence. So I don't know. We can't look past this anymore. And so, you get the card of temperance right off. It's like, oh, okay. I view the major cards as soul archetypes. A lot of tarot readers do. And I just view them as the soul tapping us on the shoulder, reminding us, okay, this is the path we're on. Remember these higher principles, standing up away from all of this and not making all of this so real that we forget to interject spirit into the equation, which is what happens. See, ego takes over and we forget that we're actually souls that are actually powering this experience. See, that's the thing. We power this experience. Why are we powering this? No, I'm not restarting my computer. Good Lord, I'm doing a video. I mean, for all this talk of AI, they're not very smart. Yes, I know I know that's silly. So don't say, okay, does she not understand about this? Yes, I do. It was a weak attempt, a feeble attempt at an old lady joke, okay? That's what it was. Let's do the next card. Oh, well, okay. We have the high priestess, so yeah. Spirit's getting involved today. Yeah, when the federal government decides that they're going to ignore posse comitatus law, and they're going to come up with some early 1800 Insurrection Act to look at, which has been changed so many times, it's ridiculous. It's like, you can't just look at the originating document, folks. Got to look at the whole thing. Yeah, not the same thing. This is a terrible thing that's happened. And if people would just listen, if people would do their jobs, if people would not, if those in authority would not do what those in authority always seem to do, they fail us. They fail us. Every single step of the way, they fail us. And we're tired of being failed. Tired of people that we know being hurt. We're tired of it. We're not going to take it anymore. That's the feeling out there now. It's like, come on, man. Stop doing this. This is wrong. These are the children involved alone who don't have a father anymore, who don't have, a mother maybe anymore, or a grandma, whoever it is that gets harmed. If if they die, the impact to these families will go on for generations. How can you do that? How can you do that and then not respond appropriately if it should horrifically happen? Because this should be so rare, if ever. And yet it's the norm now, isn't it? Yeah. Bets on if we get a third major. Yeah, they call the major arcana by another name, starting with the letter T. I don't anymore, because I don't want that energy influencing anything here or in any tarot reading I do. I don't want. Words have power. It's why it's the joke. I mean, it's why they're called spells. So we chant, we focus energy. Well, okay, but we're also speaking words. So the words have power. Look at Kabbalah, it'll show you words have power, letters have power. In fact, they have such power that they can affect everything. So, if you extrapolate from that backwards, you're looking at sound is what you're looking at, and how we put together sound, how that sound resonates, how were the pyramids built? How was Stonehenge? How were those rocks moved? Were they moved by giants? People that were so huge that aren't here anymore, but were so huge, or did they do it via sound? So whether you talk about one of sound's effects, letters and words, it's still sound. And so, when you get into the major cards, and if you want to call them by that name, it brings all of the negative energy associated with that now into what you're doing. At least that's my view. From the point of a witch, it's just my view. Just you bring in the resonance of the words you're using. So words matter. We all get carried away, and we need to remember that words really do matter. They have an effect, and it's an energetic one. I mean, it is. So if you can, by your words, cause someone else to feel terrible, that's an energetic effect. So we have to be careful. We all have to be careful. And I just would hope that from this point forward, we all keep that in mind, that words have an effect. It's an energetic effect that's so underlying that you may not even understand that it's there, but it is. The Chariot. Ding, ding, ding. The seventh card of the major arcana. So we surround the High Priestess with 2 cards of balance. I don't think we need a 4th card. I think we know what this is about. I think that we've got some really profound things happening in our world. You might have profound things happening in your life. Again, and I won't say the actual word again because we're watching our language, but when that expression caca rolls downhill, well, You know what it actually is, so I'm not going to say it though. But the effect of everything trickles down. So if you have chaos in the country, it creates chaos within, and then we then go around and create chaos in our lives. Instead of creating a cohesive unit, maybe we're part of something now that is divisive. Maybe we didn't realize we were pulled into it, or maybe we did it with intention. But this is the time where hopefully we can understand, especially on this 2 energy day, where we're looking at cause and effect of everything. We can feel comfortable leaving the high priestess in the center. I'm going to lean it back because it looks like it's getting glary. But you see, we'll start outward here. You see the 2 pillars of Solomon from Solomon's temple. A cousin in my ancestry, by the way. Yes, I've done my ancestry. Oh my Lord. I've been doing it since, like, I don't know, 2007 or 2008. You know, I don't do it every day, of course, but periodically I'll pick it back up and keep expanding things. It's amazing. I'm in the whole Merovingian line. Yeah, that one. If you know what that is. I was looking for witches, and oh my Lord, you know, most of them are probably in royalty, you know, because there's all that. Once you get in the Merovingian line, that's all you have, right, basically. You're related to everybody, the Blessed Virgin, Mary Magdalene, all of that, you know. It's the most bizarre thing. I really had no idea. I was just looking for witches. I found them, you know. I thought it'd be on my mother's side. Turns out it's on my paternal side, but I didn't know that. And I couldn't believe what I saw. I was dumbfounded. Literally, it's all I did for months afterwards. The television was on, you know, but I wasn't. I was online and looking at everything and expanding just to see, okay. And then I spent a lot of time on Wikipedia because a lot of my people are there. And it's like, wow, you know, so you start to understand, again, the energetic dynamic of things when things start going in a particular direction of influence. And you can understand how, you know, that direction of influence likely influenced even where we are today. And in terms of this patriarchal establishment of ego as control and oppressor of our lives, when it's the soul that's supposed to be driving, it's the driving force of how we're even alive here. Without that fuel to in other words, it makes all this possible. So why isn't it making all the decisions? Why isn't ego having to transmute into spirit, in other words? See, that's the dynamic. And that's the dynamic we have here today. With the high priestess, you know, you're looking at intuition and wisdom from spirit. You see the cross on the top of her gown here, but that's not that. What that is it's a type of balance, and I'll talk about that in a second. We see the triplicity of the moon above on her crown, maiden, mother, and crone. We see the fertility of the pomegranates behind her, and if you could see all of them, they would be arranged in the tree of life. So, you know, there's that. But she has one foot on the moon, the crescent moon in maiden form. She's the divine feminine. She's revelation, inner wisdom, change and alignment and source presence, balance of dark and light. And that's what, the cross though is going to depict a different kind of balance. Okay, we've talked about this before in other presentations, but the cross is spirit and form, and then this is the abyss, the line of the abyss. Hopefully, we're up here around that line, but typically we're down below where the circle is. Okay. And what the high priestess is asking from us is to be in balance. As we move past the abyss into form, we leave the total spirit essence and focus some of that energy, a small piece of it, into this collective arrangement called humanity on earth and earth itself. There's a symbiosis between the earth energy and the spirit crystal within the earth and who we are here. It's a symbiotic relationship. So to never to not to think that it's not that we have dominion over the earth, it's that we have a responsibility to the earth and to her people and her inhabitants. We have a responsibility to the mother, in other words, instead of, taking her children away from her by people who should know better. So in order to come to that kind of a balance, though, where spirit is controlling the process, we have to balance will with emotions. Here we have the angel, 1 foot on land, 1 foot on the water. We see the water irises. I have some coming up right now and blooming next to my pond. They're beautiful. I love yellow water irises. They're just gorgeous. We see the sun coming up through the 2 mountain peaks there. We see either a pathway or a little stream. It's brown, so I'm going to interpret it as a pathway. But it could be, wisdom coming from the new day, a new perception, a new way of thinking, where we balance will with emotions so that, we can actually think clearly about something, so we can understand the middle way, so we can understand the balance that we need to have together. Instead of seeing the other, we see the other side of self within that. So that's what we're really talking about here. And then we move on to the 7th card, Chariot, and we see the same sort of thing. We see the stars above, the little Merkabahs that are above his head and behind him on the cloth over the top of his head and behind him. We see structure involved with the cube on his breastplate, contrasted with the cross on the high priestess. But it affects our structure. You see the castle behind him. But he's let go of the reins, hasn't he? He's using wisdom and trust. He's literally, you see the dreidel in balance on the shield below, and the winged sun above that, healing and bringing balance to the shadow side of self and spirit side of self. All is at rest in this depiction. Now, other decks might depict this differently, so you can but each one is going to have generally the same idea of knowing when to take control and when to allow. Sometimes you got to just step back and drop resistance and let the real truth come out. So if you've got someone, say you're in a situation and no one can figure out what the heck's going on here, why is all this stuff happening? Well, then something's going on behind the scenes. It always is. It always is. Now, maybe the people that are the linchpin in it, the key to understanding it, maybe they're being manipulated and duped and they don't know that their involvement is by design and as someone else's design, not their own. So you could have something like that playing out. However, you could also just have a lot of manipulative forces. So if you drop resistance, you step back and you see, okay, who's going to pop up? Then you can start figuring out what's going on. If it's what's going on around us, though, we already know what's going on. We have a federal government that makes everything worse. So inept, so clueless, makes everything worse. So, of course, the response to all of this, to the current protests about George Floyd being killed, because another autopsy's come out now, an independent one. This is, oh yeah, asphyxiation, oh yeah, definitely. First one's like, oh no, it was pre-existing conditions. A knee on the neck for 9 minutes had nothing to do with it. Yeah, that's why you have this explosion in the streets. And it's all over the world. The world is not laughing at us as the goofy guy in the Oval Office wants everyone to think. Oh no, they're praying with us. They're standing for us. They're protesting on our behalf. We matter. We matter in the world. We do, no matter what anyone wants to say. Something goes sideways here, it stresses everyone out. Even with all of our problems, even with all the truth about us, right? This is not a perfect country. We have 1,000,007 problems, all right? Right now, 1,000,006 of them are in the White House, in my opinion. to shoot rubber bullets at peaceful protesters and pop tear gas off on them just so he can take a walk and hold up a Bible in a weird way? Are you kidding me? In front of a church that didn't want him there doing that? What's that? Who does that? Who does that, right? It was vulgar. It was a vulgar display, and to harm people so he could do it? Again, if we step back, drop resistance, and observe. The 7 is an interesting number. Now, I think a 7 is a message for empaths, because we have to step away from the chaos and observe. You know, the adage is observe, don't absorb. Well, what that means is observe what's going on briefly, because otherwise you tend to get drawn in, and then you start absorbing the energies there, and it affects you. You know, I can walk around in a grocery store and all of a sudden start feeling bad or getting tense or whatever. Now, if I'm alone in the aisle, why am I getting tense? What's tense about being there other than maybe the price of something I'm looking at? But if that's not what it is, then I'm picking up on somebody else's tension, right? So we have to, so the 7 is one of those numbers where if you draw it out, again, you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it looks basically like this, right? If you draw the line to them, you have yourself some scales. And the idea is to become this middle point with your perception and your involvement so that you move back away from whatever's happening, okay? And be able to see it with some objectivity. And that's what we need to do today. We need to take the middle path, control our will and emotions, and drop resistance and pay attention. Something's up, we need to pay attention. We need to not get caught up in whatever games anyone else wants to play. So, well, of course, we have the Norn rune Isa, the 11th rune of the Elder Futhark. Again, 11 is a master number for enlightenment and awakening, illumination. It's drawing everything into our still point and aligning in source presence. Again, doing the observation of the 7, going into that place of stillness where you can sit and be aware and let intuition guide you. You know when nonsense is up, the BS meter rises, especially if you're empathic, but we're all empathic. You know, the empath stuff, that's not a gift. It's just something that we agreed to be still aware of when we came into form. This is how we all communicate when we're just soul-based. So no, this is not anything special that we do. It's more of a curse than a gift, believe me. But it's not, it's simply, it's everyone's natural state if you choose to tune into it. So maybe you made the choice to be basically unaware of it. You can always make a different choice and start to tune into it. Tune into what you know and pay attention. You know, I work a lot with the pendulum, and my pendulum just is never wrong. It's weird. It's so weird. You know, it's just so weird. So it really does accurately predict the energies at that moment. You can check if you know that things are in flux. It's great because you can check along the way and see which direction it's going. So for me, I don't know, higher self must connect through the pendulum. And so I'm getting that way. It's strengthening that awareness that way. But pay attention, however you access your intuition, pay attention to it and know that it's not going to fail you anytime soon. And sometimes even not paying attention to it can be, you know, something that you're going to wish you had. It's like, oh, I knew that, you know, I knew that was going to happen. Yeah, we don't want to be in that position right now. Well, we have Caput Draconis for the geomancy rune, and the Draconi, Caput and Kata, they're representative of the north and south nodes of the moon. The north node of the moon is considered the head of the dragon. The south node is the tail of the dragon. So the tail represents karma and the past, and how all of that influences, you know, the choices that we're making now, gives us kind of a window into a broader picture of the kinds of things we should be thinking about that are guiding our lives. But then the Caput Draconis, the head of the dragon, or the north node of the moon, is about really, really present and future moment stuff, okay? Our direction in life. And so we're going to embark on a new direction here. I don't know how we couldn't with a 22 year. 22 is the cosmic builder. That's another master number. 33 is Christ consciousness. So you're talking very powerful numbers that really call together energies to manifest and influence profound change. You know, with an 11, you know, you're looking at awakening. We had an 11 year in 2018. Now, 2019 was a 3 year, so mind, body, spirit alignment. We took what we learned and became aware of and awakened to in 2018 and started manifesting a plan, manifesting something. You know, lots of things happened during 2019 that were resulting from what we learned in 2018. And then 2020 now, we have a 22 energy where we had an 11, a 3, and now a 22, magnifying all of that so that we can effect a profound change in our lives. You know, in other words, it feels like we have to do this now. We can't wait any longer. The momentum is there, the need is there, the desire is there. So that's why I think that we're looking at this triple aspect experience year-wise from 2018, 2019, and 2020, where we're really starting to see that expansion into manifesting a new way forward, rejecting the isms of the past, rejecting the chaos and the conflict and the division of the past and the manipulation, and moving into a higher resonance of frequency, a higher resonance of experience. And so that's really, in a sense, what ascension begins at. You know, when the body transitions into another experience, you maybe don't come back to the third dimension difficulty of what we're experiencing now. So there's the other type of ascension. Planetary ascension's happening. We're seeing all kinds of upheaval as it's happening, as the earth restructures itself into a higher resonance of being. So this is not simply us, it's the whole picture. The whole thing is finally moving up to where we can start getting out of all of this icky stuff and moving on to a more harmonious experience with one another so that we can actually progress, right? So anyway, Kappa Draconis is going to help us do that today by focusing us on the future, a one that's shared together. So I guess that's it. I'm losing my voice. So thanks so much for coming by. Come back tomorrow. Check out the blog. Oh, I did an affiliate special video. It's up on YouTube. And just check that out. I'm going to start doing that. I monetize my blog. So anyway. I do that, and so I thought about just taking my monthly affiliate, and I change it throughout the month as things come in. But I thought I would take the monthly affiliate specials that I sticky up at the top of the blog and just read through them. So that's what I did, just to kind of give you an idea of what some of this stuff is. And I'm just going to start doing that. And as more stuff comes in, I might update it, and I'll do another one. It'll just be an update. But look for that over there. I made another playlist called Affiliate Specials and Promotions. Anyway, so. If you click on anything, I earn a commission off the sale. So if you buy anything through the clicks, that's how that works. There's a little tracking thing in there that they'll keep track of me with all of it. So anyway, it just helps to defray blog costs. That's all it does. Trust me, I'm not making a living off of any of it. No blogger does. So anyway, but again, anything helps, and I appreciate all of it. So check out the Patreon page too if you want to go over there. There's links below the video to all that stuff. So check all that out if you want to. Otherwise, have a wonderful day. Come back tomorrow. Thanks so much for coming by. Click subscribe and begin to be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.